Hello everybody, more League and Arcane stuff. Yes, you guys in the Discord, thank you very much, left me a link to, from Riot Games, Arcane looking back. I think it's for the Arcane anniversary and all that sort of jazz, and it's sort of behind the scenes stuff, but like bridging the rift, so I'm excited to check this out.
I think we came up with something quite cool.
Hyper badass, hyper punchy.
The making of Savika's arm.
This episode where we wanted to try all some new stuff, you know, some new style and everything, and Jinx built a new arm for Savika. Jinx is always a bit over-the-top character, you know, and so we came up with this gigantic arm.
I love
out of proportion. Fighting also another silly character, which is Smitch. For that specific sequence, we had Marietta, the episode director of this episode, who tried to bring like a lot of fun aspect and comedy aspect.
Dans le scénario, il y avait une chorégraphie qui existait. De là est venue cette idée de bras fanfare qui en fait n'était pas dans le script. On a fait des designs, on les a pitchés donc à Riot et ils se sont dit c'est rigolo, on a envie de voir ce que ça donne, donc allez-y. On a créé toute cette chorégraphie autour de ce bras. Le storyboarder va ajouter en fait sa mise en scène, des choses aussi qui sont ajoutées par les animateurs.
All the craziness.
I'll just explain, just in case you can't see the captions. They were just saying there, the concept of Savika's arm and the one that Jinx made was sort of this idea of a musical arm, and they had some initial ideas and then they let the animators just kind of run with it, basically.
Of Jinx is put in that arm. We have some fireworks. We have this gigantic crocodile claws at the end. We have these punching gloves. The idea was to make this arm special and make sure it's clear that Jinx did it.
Et en fait, cette séquence, elle est à l'image des émotions de Jinx.
In terms of art direction, we went for something a little less realistic and a little more crazy, inspired by the video game aspect.
Gotcha.
Tout est possible avec ce bras et toujours traité à la Jinx, c'est-à-dire en mode graffiti, dessiné, hyper badass, hyper punchy. Il y a quelque chose de très enfantin. Le résultat final, avec un côté foisonnant de créativité, il est le résultat en fait de ce travail d'équipe.
I think we came up with something quite cool and very much different from most of the work we've done before.
Fragments of the Arcane.
I'm Alex Yee,
Hello,
co-creator of Arcane. We're going to talk about bits of Arcane that we may have left on the cutting room floor. There was a world where Vi and Jinx were sort of swapped. Vi and Powder go to rescue Vander and everything kind of falls apart. But after that, it was Vi who fell under Silco's sway and Powder vanished. You know, your guess is about as good as mine past that point, but it did have a different spin on things.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know what to think about that. So you're saying Vi became Silco's sort of protege. Okay. Oh, that would have been interesting if Vi was then still sort of Vander's poster girl and then she went with Silco. That would have been an interesting twist.
It was like a Vi who had become the role of Savika, and you know, Jinx was just this like wild, unpredictable kind of chaos agent, and so there was sort of this thing of like Vi on one half of the city and Caitlyn on the other half of the city were sort of like trying to wrestle with this new threat and also being drawn together, I suppose, in that process. Where was she in the interim? She was recognized and taken for tutelage by Victor before Victor went robot, I suppose. There is something...
What? Interesting, because in the show you do see that Victor respects Jinx and sort of knows she's very clever. You can see that within her. So then knowing this could have been a different plot they went with, it does make sense, actually.
Before Victor went robot, I suppose, there is something resonant and vulnerable in the relationship between Jinx and Silco as two people who, you know, through very, very deep trauma, lost a North Star. That was a much richer story, despite how fun it is to watch Vi punch things. This might have to be something for next time.
Next time? Next time? Next time? What?
Vi punch things just might have to be something for next time.
What? What does that mean?
Vander and Silco. There's always a lot of interest in what happened, you know? We had a bit of headcanon for what it was that they did. One specific take that we had for it was that there was this trio in the olden days, you know, Benzo and Vander and Silco. They were rough around the edges, and Piltover was a place with a lot of cautious regulation. The way they funded this dream of theirs was, well, they knew the tunnels really well, so they could smuggle things around. They did a little bit of smuggling in order to, you know, pay the bills. Benzo got caught doing this. This was at a point where Piltover wanted to make an example of him. This thing with Benzo forced Silco and Vander to say, like, you know, should we stop acting like criminals? You know, should we act like citizens? The people from the Undercity were never going to be seen as equal. And I think that just struck a nerve with Silco. And despite the fact that the really important agreement between him and Vander ahead of time was that this was going to be peaceful and this was going to be done right, Silco knew he was going to rescue Benzo no matter what. Vander, after specifically losing people that he did see as family, and I think, you know, the most gut-wrenching part of it was Vi and Powder, and, you know, having to somehow try to explain to them why their parents who followed him weren't coming back. It made it that he had the same reaction that Silco had, you know. I think that the bottled up frustration was more than he could deal with, and he turned on him, and that's why I think in that third episode it's a genuine apology.
Oh god, that's interesting. Oh, that's such an interesting avenue. I would have loved to have seen some of that animated and explored. Oh, that really puts everything into perspective. Oh, there's so much here. I can see why you lot wanted me to look at this. Jesus. Mel and Silco? What?
Initially, we wanted Piltover to have a secret, and we wanted Piltover to have kind of its own Silco. At the end of episode 4, we had this idea that, you know, Silco has taken over the lanes. He's using Shimmer. Piltover doesn't seem to know what to do with it, and he goes to a place that he seems like an odd duck or a sore thumb, a Piltovian bathhouse. In the Piltovian bathhouse, there is a woman for whom nothing less than luxury could possibly match or become her. She's just lounging there, and he's standing like above. That doesn't suit her, so she says, get in. He meets her halfway, and he sits at the edge of the pool and dunks his feet in, and she smiles, and then they have a conversation. And there was a touch to this smell that I liked quite a bit, which was that, so she loved these puzzle boxes that, you know, the most brilliant Piltovian artisans would craft. It's a game, but it's also a prize, because if you can figure out how to, like, get to the core, there would always be a surprise. So that was a take on Mel, capitalizing on sort of like similar qualities with her, of just sort of like the poise, the grace, the diplomacy. She came out the better for it. It's always much more interesting to see someone who wants to be a hero and comes from a world where villains are tolerated, but refuses, I guess, to let that become just the way of doing things. There are a lot of people, I think, who reach out to every single person who has made any effort to contact us, because I know there are a lot of dead ends and tricky things. It's so deeply appreciated, and truthfully, like, there's nothing that fuels us, I think, like that. So thank you.
The fight between Jinx and...
Oh, there's so many little avenues they could have included and they didn't. It feels to me they wanted this show to be longer than it was. I don't know, there's something interesting there. And then this is like a fan section.
Thank you.
Let's have a look at this.
The fight between Jinx and Echo on the bridge. It was the most stunning thing to me that I'd ever seen visually. It's so compelling, and the storytelling is also immaculate.
金克斯拿了一个蓝色的这个信号枪，高高的举在底层的这个平台上，我跟我弟弟就啪爆哭，两个男孩子就在家里爆哭，这就是我。
On voit Jinx, on voit ses longues tresses, du coup c'est le moment où elle est adulte, et c'est le moment où personnellement j'ai eu encore plus d'accroche sur le personnage.
Les graphismes ils są géniaux. Les graphismes, il y avait tellement de détails.
Dla mnie najważniejszą sceną w Arcane jest scena herbatki rodzinnej, specyficznie linijka Are we still sisters?
Moi, c'est quand j'ai découvert Veil et comment le personnage a été développé au cours de la série. Je la trouve vraiment incroyable, un personnage fort comme ça, un personnage féminin très fort, un peu brut. Je trouve ça vraiment incroyable, on n'en voit pas beaucoup.
Der Moment, in dem man sieht, wie Jinx schießt und die Emotionen, den Terror, als Caitlyn schreit mit der ganzen Musik, einfach die Atmosphäre. Ich konnte es einfach sehr lange nicht mehr vergessen.
在我看到皮城还有祖安被那么形象的去刻画在一个动画里面。
I was just going to say that I think for me when I started learning about the League stuff and all the other areas of Runeterra, seeing how vividly they brought to life Piltover and Zorn, which is what this person here just mentioned, that for me, when I realised how well they did that with the world building stuff, they just did it so well. When I watched the show, it was obviously, it made you feel immersed in it, but when you realise just how well they did it, when you can see the other, like through the cinematics and stuff, you could see how Riot really care about building this space. Yeah, that was something that I like sort of resonated with me a lot as well afterwards.
所以就会让我感到非常的震撼。
Episode 7 in Season 2 is by far my favorite. The dance scene with Echo and Powder, and just Echo realizing what he could have had in that alternate universe and then still choosing to go back to fight for his universe, even though there was absolutely nothing making him go back. And in fact, even people encouraging him to stay. It was just so powerful.
I think I gotta hand it to Jason Victor's reunion at the very last episode of Season 2. It's just such a beautiful scene, especially like with all the animation, the combination of 2D and 3D.
Predictably, Victor's whole arc was very important to me, and like the last scene with Jace. Being disabled was part of him, and it was never an issue. It was just who he is as a person.
J'ai beaucoup aimé la scène où on suit le parcours de Jace quand il touche littéralement le fond du trou, lorsqu'il est transporté dans cet univers parallèle où il doit apprendre du coup à se reconstruire après avoir tout perdu et comprendre enfin la conséquence de ses actes et de ses actions par rapport à la magie, au hexcore.
Thank you guys for being such an amazing community and so accepting. You guys are amazing, and I love seeing all your cosplays all the time. You guys are amazing.
我想说，谢谢你们给金克斯设计了这么多造型，然后并且让一些造型提升到了游戏当中，然后让他有了更多好看的皮肤。希望以后还能给他出更多的皮肤。
Oh, she's so sweet. She said at the end, I like all the designs you've done for Jinx, and I love the Jinx skins, which is really sweet. Alternative title for this video, what could have been? I should have done that. Arcane Looking Back, episode 2, Behind the Music. Now, you know how much I like looking into the Arcane music and stuff, so come on.
I'm Alex. I'm one of the composers on Arcane.
I'm also Alex. I go by Mako as well, and we're here for the Arcane Faniverse.
Like, are they all called Alex? Is that is that like what you have to do to work up Riot? Is change your name to Alex? Oh, Faniversary. Got it.
We performed like a small suite of our music at an event that Deadline put on recently. This was not an Arcane event. It was like for film and television music. We're like in the lobby for like a good 30 minutes after the end of the concert. Arcane fans coming up with like actual merch and stuff for us to sign. It was really cool.
People were coming up to me afterwards just to say like that they really enjoy the music, or that they really enjoy the show, or that they're sad that there's no season 3.
That's probably my favorite part of the whole experience. Just getting to share and witness the love of, you know, the fans and everything.
Yeah, when we decided to bring back the bridge as the outro to season 2, I thought that was an interesting choice.
Yeah, great detail.
Is that
in a sort of bookend kind of way. I thought it felt really nice, and it was, I think, one of the more recognizable, stronger melodies in the show, and one that we didn't use very often. I think in season 2 it shows up 3 or 4 times max, so I felt like when we did use it, we wanted to be a key pivotal moment.
Is that a wild rhythm? I have no idea what that is. You walk along the edge of danger.
In terms of a song kind of becoming a character in a scene, the Wood Kid song To Ashes and Blood in season 2, what Christian's strategy was to not play traditional action music at all. He specifically wanted all of this subtext of this Shuriman people that are chanting this warning to these characters. It's just an Easter egg of all this deep, rich lore. I think that was one of my proudest collaborations in season 2 that felt like it was a season 2 thing where we only could get there because of what we had experienced in season 1. We have to invent a language, and I'm learning a lot about what even the consequences of them playing with this anomaly energy are.
You know, this is a big, pretty brutal fight. These need to work together and not feel like they're trying to tell 2 different stories.
What have we done?
À la base, c'est quelque chose qu'on a déjà vu dans la saison 1 quand Victor travaillait sur l'export. Tout est lié à cette anomalie qui est en fait un truc qui est au centre de tout. En fait, il y a toujours ce même motif, cette espèce de motif fractal, de plein de filaments ou de ronds les uns à côté des autres, etc. Qu'on voit quand il y a de l'escorisation, quand Victor va soigner des gens, il va y avoir ces motifs métalliques qui vont se répandre sur leur corps.
Just in case you can't read the subtitles, he was talking there about the hex core is at the center of everything, and what they did through the design process is create constant sort of fractal patterns that appears everywhere, right, in round the Arcane, including when Victor heals people. So that's just what they said there.
C'est un motif récurrent qui existe à toutes les échelles, c'est le principe des fractales. Donc on est vraiment dans l'infiniment grand, mais aussi dans l'infiniment petit. Il y avait toujours un moyen d'essayer d'en caser quelque part si on voulait, et aussi très souvent en spirale, avec plus ou moins une spirale de Fibonacci, un petit nombre d'or de temps en temps. On n'est pas allé trop loin parce que ça peut vite être handicapant, et on raconte une histoire avant tout et on fait du divertissement avant tout.
In season 1, we were a little terrified of like the diegetic cues, like whenever you're in a bar or in the brothel.
All you're going to be hearing is bass filtering from next door because they're playing in the next room down the hall.
And then in season 2, we started having a lot more fun with, let's actually like dig in a little to these moments, especially in episode 7 of season 2, create fake bands and fake songs.
Hey, Garth. Oh, do the Kim sisters have another show coming up?
This needs to be believable as a record that somebody would intentionally press play on a jukebox, because we actually see a jukebox. So we need to make it sound kind of like a semi-real song that doesn't sound like the same artist as the last one we heard the last time somebody played a record at the Blast Drop. I remember when we were talking about what pieces of music to put on the Spotify releases, there was a conversation about some of these, and it was like, well, you know, they were produced well enough to exist in their original context, which is down the hall and with the door closed. And once you take those masks off, you're like, this needs a lot more work before we'd be comfortable sharing this with the world.
You must declare martial law, appoint a general to lead until this threat is vanquished. Caitlin Kierman.
Yeah, I sort of created a satellite Caitlyn theme for season 2. This is still Caitlyn in somewhat of a resemblance of her season 1 self, where she's got sort of a pure intent and she's clearly in Piltover. But a lot of these characters are now going on arcs that are very antithetical to what we had established them in season 1.
Her character in season 2 goes on a bit of a different journey than what we see in season 1. So it felt like the theme was in many ways less applicable to the storytelling in season 2. That big scene at the end of episode 3, one of my early versions actually did use the season 1 Caitlyn theme. Yes, this is a key moment for Caitlyn, but it's happening to her. This is like, she's almost powerless. She's being thrust into this position. So it shouldn't feel like a big moment for Caitlyn. It should feel like something happening to Caitlyn, almost like, you know, without as much of her say.
That was the beginning.
Victor was the first thing I ever wrote, and the first thing I ever did was work on like one chapter of that sort of Victor suite that you were making.
We We had developed character themes for several of the characters. Victor was one that we used a lot because it was a nice melody that seemed to work well. So while Victor has a huge role in season 2, it always felt like the theme was more capturing the humanity of Victor. How can we tastefully inject it in a way so that it feels like there's continuity, but it doesn't feel like it's contradicting anything?
You must go, Jess.
In one of the last cues in episode 9, when Victor and Jace have their sort of moment of reconciliation, this cue that sort of has this perpetual motion machine going on in the violin and orchestra and synthesizers, but then at sort of like the key moment in the middle of the scene, the Victor theme comes back in this pretty grandiose presentation that I think is probably like the biggest version of it you hear in the show.
I love this scene so much.
We finish this together.
En fait, en regardant les storyboards de Z, on s'est dit, mais en fait, on veut que la séquence ressemble à ça.
Moi, j'ai rendu, si tu veux, des traits, et au compo, ils ont vraiment fait un super taf. Eux, ils ont mis toute une profondeur, des textures, ils sont vraiment enrichis d'image très graphique, presque un peu enfantin, mais en même temps qui dénote pas trop
It's
avec
interesting, they said very graphic, like, but a little bit childish. And it does have like a childlike sort of dreamscape to it, which I hadn't really put together actually.
le reste de l'exone qu'on a déjà mis en place.
Il y a des plans où il se passe beaucoup de choses, où chaque image est travaillée différemment.
Oh look, they've got without any of the other bits. Wait, hang on. Oh look, they've done like the footage they're going to work from. God, it looks so different without any of the colour grading or anything. It looks so, I don't even know the word for it. I suppose organic would be a word. You wonder what I was going to say. They really seem at peace. Like when I first watched that scene, it almost felt like they were bracing for pain a little bit. But when you see it like this, it looks different, doesn't it? Oh. I forgot here they wouldn't have had any clothes on. Yeah. Although it has been a year since I watched Arcane, so that could be why.
L'image est travaillée différemment de celle d'avant et celle d'après.
Il y a tout en fait, il y a tous les départements là-dedans. Et en fait, c'est le cumul en fait de tous ces effets-là qui ont fait que ça a donné ce style-là en particulier sur l'Exone.
I definitely had some like Vander stuff. I don't remember if we did anything specific for like Warwick.
Season 1, episode 3 scene with Deckard going, right, when he was like hit by a shimmer. And
was that one of the cues I did? And,
yeah, it was one of the cues you did.
And then
like,
people said that it was using like
using the Warwick theme. I'm like, well,
I was like, cool.
I was like, wait, let me go back and listen to these again. I can see what they're getting at, but no, it wasn't intended.
Yeah. A lot of it is pre-planned, but there's like a couple things where it's like people go like, oh my god, the way. And I was like, cool, yep, totally, whatever you say.
You really think I needed all the guards at the Heads Gates?
Kate Vi, like, song, fantastic. That's one of the few that, like, we just had them write it completely. The producers that worked on it were incredible, but I had to score the scene to picture, and it's a really funny psychological thing. You have such a weird parasocial relationship with the characters because you've been with them for so long, and I was just hyped for them.
While you were gone, I saw someone.
I will, just hang on a sec. I will say something. When I did the Arcane music tier list, I put Fantastic in top tier. And I'm going to be honest, the song, I don't know if I like it so much now. And I've got good reason why. When you listen to the lyrics of all the other songs in Arcane, they all directly relate to the show, right? Even like they were talking there about To Ashes and Blood, the Shuriman references there and making this new language and how they're talking about you cannot mess with the arcane and what could happen if they do it. It's all linked to that. When you listen to the lyrics of Fantastic, there's a part of me now I've completed the show, energy's come down a little bit. I do feel Fantastic's one of the songs that it hasn't grown on me after time. It's the opposite, whatever the opposite of that is. I find my feelings towards this song I think the lyrics should have been more related to the characters in the scene rather than, drink champagne out of plastic. For me, it actually distracts from what's happening in the show. And I know that might be like not a popular opinion or anything like that, but, a year later for me, it's one of the songs actually I've become less a fan of as opposed to other ones that I've become more a fan of.
Been with them for so long, and I was just hyped for them.
While you were gone, I saw someone. I don't fucking care.
The funny thing about that scene is that when we were watching the premiere, nobody could hear the music because the whole theater was just erupting in applause when they were, once it happened. Towards the end of season 2, there's just these moments of realization of like, we just finished the last scene that features this character that I feel like said goodbye to a friend. Yeah. I'm not usually thinking about it in such an explicit way, but I remember just like, yeah, oh great, this scene's finally working. I don't get to do any more music for Heimer anymore.
Yeah, that was the big one I remember for you.
Yeah.
I must say, since I've met you, lad, I've truly lived.
We're literally just like you. We were crazy about this show and the characters. I don't know how many more opportunities like that I'll ever have in my life, so it's just one of those things that you really cherish. It created such a deep, indescribable sensation of meaning to be working on something that is sort of cared for and beloved by people.
Thank you to the fans. It's been an honor and a privilege. People say that, but it's just mind-blowing to think that like, yeah, this thing that you were working on in your room, millions of people have heard it, and the positive response has been extremely humbling, and it does have a bit of that lightning in a bottle feel.
Thank you very much.
For me, it's kind of a little bit more emotional. I really like Arcane because of the amount of grief it shows and the representation all the grief gets. My brother was actually a huge League of Legends fan, and he passed away a couple years ago after the season 1 of Arcane, and it made season 2 just so much more impactful for me, especially with all the loss that Jinx had to go through. So yeah, it means a lot to me to show a really good representation of grief throughout the whole show.
Not Jinx, Powder, sorry. She exploded, everyone, her whole family, and I think that whole scene was emotional, and tears were definitely sweating out of my eyes.
但是让我印象最深刻的是，谢尔科被失控的金克斯用枪射中后，他并没有怪金克斯，反而是说出了你是完美的烂。
I miss Silco. I miss Silco so much. I think Silco's in my top 3 characters of the entire show. He was great, man. I mean, and the death was so poignant as well. Like, there's a part of me that would want more of him and to see more from that character, but at the same time, it didn't fit. So I'm kind of just, I feel indifferent about it. But God, I loved Silco. They're some of my favourite scenes, the Silco scenes, and I still think there's a part of me that prefers season 1 over season 2, just a little bit. And I think a lot of it's because of Silco, because I just love that character so much.
安慰金克斯，那一瞬间让我泪流满面。
所以有一个画面也是很击中我的，就是金克斯在跟他姐姐最终在第1季的尾声要交锋，然后他问他姐姐说，如果你能做出怎么样的选择，你的妹妹就会回来。但是他姐姐因为自己的爱，因为自己的其他的纠缠，没有这么做。
Іша. У мене є дитина також, і в момент, коли сталася історія з Ішею, як вони зустрілися з Джинкс, потім як Іша віддала життя своє, це торкнулося мене як маму, найбільше. De mon côté, ce sera toujours par rapport à Victor, parce que c'est un personnage qui est scientifique, handicapé, introverti, comme moi. De l'avoir développé et la façon dont il exprime ses insécurités, ça m'a vraiment parlé et touché. Et accessoirement, le fait que 21 Pilot fasse sa musique, c'est mon groupe préféré, du coup c'était très marquant. 还是第1部末尾，就是他们Jinx 和 Ray 他们一起去救父亲的那一段是非常感人的。可能他们之间存在一些误解和误会，但是为了一个最终的目标呢，就是说这样一个家庭的大爱，他们一起去并肩作战，所以这一点是我非常感动的。Just one word, fantastic. I'm sorry. Let's go, lesbian!
I'm so honored to be part of the community, to be surrounded by people who love the show just as much as I do. I am always just so glad to be surrounded by all these people who just have so much passion for the show.
Ce que je pourrais dire au reste de la communauté d'Arcane, ce serait de continuer à faire vivre l'univers même si la série est finie, parce que c'est quand même un univers très complet, et que même juste on discutait avec quelqu'un des personnages, ils sont complets encore une fois, donc c'est quelque chose, n'hésitez pas à continuer de faire vivre un univers même quand c'est fini. Si je pouvais dire quelque chose à toute la communauté d'Arcane, c'est que j'aimerais beaucoup qu'on fasse tous ensemble, par exemple, comme je fais du cosplay, j'aimerais beaucoup le partager avec beaucoup de personnes. Déjà que je vois beaucoup de gens sur les réseaux sociaux, j'aimerais beaucoup qu'on en fasse tous ensemble, qu'on se partage tout ça, parce que c'est vraiment un super bonheur de pouvoir incarner des personnages qu'on aime bien. Donc qu'on partage une petite passion tous ensemble.
能不能复活那个大头啊？谁都能，我希望那个班德尔城他可以复活的。
Can you bring Heimerdinger back? Sweet. And they're right, the cosplays do keep it alive. I'm amazed actually how much the Arcane community have kept things alive. Great. And the League stuff too, but I still think there's so much to explore within this universe. Alex Seaver commented, okay, fine, time for another rewatch. Yeah, I was debating rewatching stuff. I've just been so busy, I haven't had a time to. Even Caitlin's twitching eyes cost millions. Yeah, I sort of like, they like shimmer, pardon the pun. Yeah, maybe I should go back and rewatch Arcane when I get time, but yeah, good show, man, good show. I still think there is a part of me that prefers season 1. I think my love for Silco has kind of just tipped it a little bit, but yeah, the music's great. I mean, I think out of all the shows I've checked out, the music in here is the most memorable, I'd say. And like I said, that's why Fantastic just feels slightly off to me. Don't get me wrong, the song's still catchy, it will still get stuck in my head. But the lyrics of it, I don't feel completely match up to the show and what was happening at that point in time, whereas there's other songs that do, and I loved that. I loved how they almost wrote each piece for the scenes. And I almost felt like Fantastic is a great song on its own, but it doesn't quite link up to what's happening in the show at that point in time in the scene. And there's always a part of me now that I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit nitpicky, but if you feel the same, or if there's any other song, you know, that you really love, or there's something about it that you don't like, comment it below. I'm interested. I want to hear people's opinions on this, because maybe it's just me, but let me know. If you did enjoy this, do give it a thumbs up, always helps me out. Subscribe, put notifications on, that way you won't miss any more of this. I'll definitely be watching episode 3, so keep an eye out for that. Take very good care of yourself. Go and have an Arcane rewatch, or if not, go and listen to the music. There's probably a playlist somewhere on Spotify. Go and listen to the music, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye.